Mode.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining today's session. Really excited to have you with us today. We are going to be talking with Ray Carroll here from the Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factory. Ray, are you on the call?
Absolutely.
Awesome. So let's go away. Hold on one second. I'm just getting a brief question from my colleague here. Hold on. All right, folks, sorry about that. We're back. So let's go ahead. Ray is online, so let me pull this up here. It's not that one. Undercaffeinated this morning. Here we go. Okay, so here's the agenda. What we're going to do is I'm going to give a very brief introduction to Cisco Meraki and cloud networking for those of you who may be joining us for the very first time, but we're not going to spend a lot of time there. What we're going to do is move very quickly through those intro slides and get to the real meat of the presentation today, which is talking to Ray and learning about how Ray is implementing Meraki gear at the Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factory. So he has graciously allowed us to, or offered to allow us to demo his network. So we'll go through, and for the demo portion of this session, we'll actually do a live demo of his network at Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factory, and then we'll just sort of wrap up very briefly with an overview of products and get into Q&A. So that reminds me, throughout this session, my good friend and colleague Jen is on the call with me today. She's going to be fielding a bunch of questions, so if you have any questions, type them into the GoToWebinar Q&A box. We're also going to have this be as interactive a session as possible, so we want you guys to help us guide this discussion with Ray. So please type in your questions for him or for me, and periodically throughout this presentation we're going to just check out questions and answer those and share the answers with you in real time. So my name is Emily. I'm a product marketing manager here at Cisco, and let's get started. Real quickly though, house cleaning. For those of you who are qualified IT professionals on the call today, we do have a free access point to give you. So it's an 11N wireless access point. We're going to throw in a 3-year cloud management license with it as well. 100% free, yours to keep and use as you choose. Any of the features that we demoed today on the wireless side on Ray's network will be available to you. So really exciting. You can get your hands on the technology and play with it yourself. If you have questions about eligibility, I would encourage you to check out the URL down there at the bottom of your screen. That's meraki.cisco.com/freeap. And we do ask that you call us to confirm your shipping information, because we don't want to send the access point out to some random address. There should be a reminder email in your inbox or perhaps your spam folder about today's session. In that email is the contact information for your Meraki rep. And if you can't find that email, just give us a call our main line, and we should be able to pair you up with your rep as well. So call us, confirm your shipping information. Okay, without further ado, introduction. So for those of you who are not familiar with Meraki, or maybe have forgotten, Meraki, the company, was founded in 2006 by a research team from MIT, and they were working on a project that laid the foundation for the technology that became Meraki, the company. And so they were literally climbing on top of apartment building rooftops in Massachusetts while at MIT, affixing wireless access points to them, trying to figure out how to manage those from the internet. It was a project called the RoofNet project, and that basically spawned the technology for Meraki. And since then, of course, we've branched out. We don't just make wireless access points, but we make switches, access and aggregation switches. We make security appliances, so unified threat management boxes, and we have as well 100% free mobile device management for iOS, Androids, Macs, and PCs. And it's awesome technology. So Cisco took note. They acquired us at late at the very end of 2012. So we are proud to say we're the new cloud networking group within Cisco, but we are charging full steam ahead, research and development across all of our product lines that I just mentioned, and we've been recognized for our innovation and sort of garnering accolades for that. So we're really excited. We've got a bunch of retail customers in our client portfolio. This is not an exhaustive list, but just to kind of show you large and small. Typically we do very, very well with customers who either have lean IT staffs or have many, many distributed sites that they're trying to manage, or they want sort of an optimized solution out of the box that works. They want to work with a really intuitive graphical interface, things like that. So a couple of our customers. And if you have questions or want to view more information about case studies, we have those up on our website, and we're always happy to make an introduction to you. So if you want to reach out and talk to somebody else who's using Meraki gear, let us know. All right, so why are folks choosing cloud networking? Very simply, it's these buckets here that you see on your screen. We make things easier, more efficient, more lucrative, I guess, because you have cost savings. So when we go through the presentation and we go through the demo, keep these bucket points in your mind: manageability, scalability, cost savings. Particularly what you're going to see, we're a cloud-managed solution, so you can literally log in from anywhere in the world you have internet access, from any internet-accessible device, see all of your networks in your organization, drill down into any one of them, drill down between equipment, hop, skip, and jump, look at clients, see what's happening on your network. You can literally pre-configure all of your equipment in the dashboard before it's ever been plugged into power or the internet, have it drop ship to various locations. Once it is plugged in, that equipment will grab its configuration settings from the cloud and run with it. So things like that make manageability much, much, much easier. In terms of scalability, we're infinitely scalable. So we don't have the traditional bottlenecks that you might find in other scenarios or with other solutions. You don't have to buy controllers. You don't have to buy redundant controllers. There are no device limits. We've pushed everything out to the cloud for you. So literally we can grow as large or as small and as quickly or slowly as you need. And then in terms of cost savings, again, you're not buying this additional sort of controller hardware, or you don't need to buy the redundant controllers. You're maybe not traveling as much to remote sites because you can manage them from your armchair. And you're not going to spend a lot of time training your IT staff on getting up and running with us because we're very, very intuitive. And you'll see that when we get to the demo. So just to sum up, we have 4 product lines. You can see them there. And you manage all of them from our web-based dashboard. So everything we build is designed to be 100% cloud managed. And just very quickly to show you what that looks like, essentially your equipment will sit on-premise. Your Meraki equipment will sit on-premise at your offices, your campuses, your remote locations, retail locations, maybe your homes if you're in a teleworker deployment. And the Meraki equipment will initiate a secure connection back to our cloud. And by our cloud, I mean our data centers that are located all over the world. And it's a very small connection. It averages about 1 kilobit per second per device. And in that connection is the management and monitoring statistics that we need to present the information you'll see in the dashboard. So things like number and type of clients, bandwidth being consumed, applications that are being used, et cetera, et cetera. It's a very secure connection. It's encrypted twice, once with proprietary encryption, then again with SSL, and it's small because we are not collecting or storing or seeing end-user data. We do use an out-of-band control plane, so we don't see or store that data. We're just collecting management and monitoring statistics. And benefits of this architecture are myriad. You can see some of them here on the slide, but our data centers are very, very secure. We have high uptime SLA agreements with them. They're tested daily, undergo daily penetration testing by McAfee. Meraki, we ourselves are PCI compliant, level 1, which is really high, et cetera, et cetera. So if you have any questions, definitely reach out to Jen, ask them, or check out meraki.cisco.com/trust. We try to put as much information up there as possible. And the last thing I'm going to say about why customers are choosing the cloud is our pretty awesome feature sort of, I guess how would I say it, our really, really awesome licensing and sort of feature delivery model. So essentially, we try to take complexity out of it. For the most part, there's no per user or per feature licensing. There's just 2 SKUs when you buy Meraki hardware. There's the SKU for the hardware, so you buy an access point, a switch, or a security appliance, and then you buy a license. So there's some duration of license. You could have a year, 3 years, 5 years. I think all the way up through 10-year licenses can be purchased. And that license will be applied to that piece of hardware. And for the duration of that license, all of your technical support is included. You have all access to all the management functions in the dashboard in that cloud control plane. And you will have access to all the feature and firmware updates that we're going to push out to your gear. So every quarter, roughly, all the product lines will push out not just bug updates and firmware updates, but actual feature updates. So, you know, for an example, wireless access point customers woke up one day and found out they had location analytics, or, you know, switch customers woke up one day and found out, you know, they had layer 3. So it's quite nice. And again, the device that you will have 3 years from now will be significantly more powerful than the device you buy today, because we will have updated it and made it more feature-rich. So it just sort of future-proofs your hardware investment. Okay, that was my spiel. Now we have Ray, and I just want him to come in and introduce himself and let us know who he is and what his role is. Ray, if you don't mind.
Hey. No problem. Yeah, so I'm exactly what it says. I'm a sole IT member at Rocky Mountain Chocolate Canada. I've been as a developer and or IT representative for about 22 years. And basically I manage all the network internally and externally at all of our franchisee locations or our store locations. From a developer standpoint, you know, my background really focused on customizing and building business solutions with direct correlation to an accounting system. So if anyone knows Great Plains Dynamics, I've been doing that product for about 16 years. So.
Wow, that's awesome. And I was wondering, just for the purposes of background and context, if you could tell us a little bit about Rocky Mountain Chocolate while we all stare lustily at the chocolate pieces.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Rocky Mountain Chocolate is we are kind of connected to the U.S. side, but we have the franchisee rights for Canada for Rocky Mountain, so our stores are completely different. We focus on really high-end solutions in the world of chocolate. Custom apples is one of our key products. We're constantly developing new products out in the marketplace.
Okay.
So.
Well, I was going to say, it looks like you guys are really widely distributed, right? I mean, you've got locations all across Canada.
Yes, yes. I would say, you know, we're an average. This year we opened a lot of new stores.
Okay.
This year was a big year. We opened, I believe it was 4 or 5 new locations just this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, chocolate. I mean, what can you say?
Yeah, that's I know.
So one of the things I always like to ask folks, just to kind of start off the conversation is, so, you know, clearly it sounds like you have lean IT, right? You're the sole IT staff member.
Yeah,
Here you've got
Yep.
all these stores you're trying to manage in all these different locations, and you had an existing network at one point. So I'm assuming there was some issue or some reason why you were looking to update. Could you fill us in?
Well, it's kind of the whole thing. We're on a old technology point-of-sale solution that was stuck on a XP-based system. So, of course, as we know, XP is kind of done. And the solution wasn't really going anywhere. And we wanted to focus on having basically an iPad-based solution is what our goal was. And so we, not only from a standpoint of just technology where it's going, but from design of the store, ease of use. I mean, the hardware alone that the franchisees would have to purchase to replace was tremendous, where in this case, if they wanted to have another iPad with point of sale on it, they just go buy one, and we could get it up and running in no time.
Nice.
We had issues with, locations had, various types of routers, just your standard, cheap routers, and they were constantly causing conflicts. So how the old structure was is it would update information to the head office, and that was where we had a lot of problems with various routers.
Okay. We actually did get a question in from the audience for you. If you're comfortable saying, can you disclose what the old POS vendor?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, it was Microsoft RMS.
Okay.
Yep. And we had it completely customized, so it was more of a preset button style. So it was very quick to do transactions because, I mean, again, the stores get lined up, right? Everyone wants ice cream or something, right?
Right.
And so that was the solution, which is, from the stories we heard, Microsoft tried a number of times to replace that solution. They still say they have a solution, but we are long past that, moving on to that.
Okay, and then one more question just popped in from the audience, which was, can you disclose what the new or iPad point of sale vendor is that you're using?
Absolutely. After significant research, we chose a product by the name of Teamwork Retail. Okay. And basically, great organization, took all of our needs and completely worked with us to develop a solution that is for their future and as well as ours. Okay,
great. So it sounds like you were having challenges with your point of sale. You had maybe problems with older hardware falling apart, and sort of disparate brands everywhere was kind of making things tough and hard to manage. So we entered the picture, and how did you hear about us, and did you have any sort of qualms or concerns about possibly using Meraki equipment that then got dispelled when you started testing us?
I think, based on going back, we had a number of hurdles to get over to implement this new solution, and the organization Teamwork Retail had recommended this product, Meraki, based on some of the issues that we wanted to solve, and so we got them to send us some because they had access to some. So, and then we had an opportunity to start playing with it. And then, within, I'm going to say, 2 to 3 days of digging into the cloud, the cloud solution, I got to understand exactly what that looked like and how easy it was to use.
Great. Sorry, I'm watching. There's a ton of questions. There's a lot of questions coming in out. Yeah, no, people are very excited. Someone wants Meraki gear plus chocolate, so that's great. And
we'll work on a we'll work on a solution for that.
So one question from the audience is, can you disclose how your sites are connected? I guess that was the question. It's a little bit vague.
So the overall, how it all kind of works as a high level? I mean, basically our stores, whether they're corporate stores or franchisee stores. The ratio is, I think we have 6 or 7 corporate stores. The rest out of the 60 are franchisee owned. So what they do is they've gone out and they've purchased or they've brought internet into their store.
Okay.
So in Canada, that could be one of many people. Okay. And in their stores, we have the MX60s and the MR18s, and basically from that standpoint, we can control everything.
Okay. We did have a question too. I don't know if you feel comfortable disclosing what the older routers were. Which vendor was that, or
they were most of them were the D-Link series. Okay. And, you got to remember, too, that a lot of these locations, well, not a lot, I'm going to say, let's say 25% locations have security camera systems as well. So there's a lot of port opening and management that's required. And when these guys will go and get a new one, they had to either rely on us being able to connect in, if it was successful in working, get us to connect in and reconfigure everything. But if the other stuff was lost, we had to figure it all out, right? So huge management issue. Okay.
So we are getting a bunch of questions about what exactly your network situation looks like at each location, and so if you could speak a little bit about what gear is deployed and how you have it set up.
Oh, absolutely. Because of it's a iPad-based solution. Now, so we've got the MX60 as the security appliance, and then we've got an access point of the MR18 is what we chose for all of these, and that's because it's got some great technology in it. Mm-hmm. Especially around signal management and stuff, and making sure that it's secure. So what we've done in the game, we've got old store design and we've got new store design. So old store design, we had to put the access point kind of in the middle of the store in under one of the counters, because there was no way to get it wired up into the ceiling. Okay. So you got to remember that in order to deploy this complete solution, we're talking 60 stores. Each store has a minimum of 2 iPads. We had to come up with iPad stands. We had to come up with, each location has a Lenovo PC. Mm-hmm. And so we had to actually, at the office, I pre-configured pretty well everything. And again, once you've got one network set up, mm-hmm. because they're all standard, all I had to do is plug in the device and pre-configure the network. And as soon as they plugged it in at the location, it brought down the default settings, and it was up and running. So we could ahead of time, we could define the MAC addresses for the various, like the Lenovo printers, anything like that. We could predefine what the IP addresses were going to be. So as soon as they plugged them in, they're already set up. Everyone's standard. Everyone's got the same settings.
Cool. That is very cool. Did you use the cloning feature at all? Or the config sync?
Actually, I didn't. All I did was, well, I guess you could call it clone. You can take an existing network mm-hmm. and copy it to another name, basically, and that's your new network, and then assign your devices to it. But it was very fast. I mean, I set up, in a matter of less than an hour, I set up probably about 15 networks. That's awesome. And they're already done. And that includes, we wanted to have minimum of 3 SSIDs. Mm-hmm. So we've got one that's dedicated to the iPad itself, so it maintains the same IP structure throughout everything in that network. And then we've got a staff one, so the staffs can have their iPhones or Androids connected up, or their devices, period. So each location has its own password, so we can control all that through the cloud as well. And we also have one that we're going to be deploying where it's kind of connected to Facebook. So if they have a Facebook site, mm-hmm. We can connect that up. So then what we decided to allow is that if somebody comes into the store and they connect in through the Facebook experience, we'll give them 30 minutes usage and then they're out. Mm-hmm. And awesome. So yeah, it's just a way of giving people the opportunity to log in, and we can see what that looks like, right? So we can track it a little bit.
And for the folks out there who may not be familiar, just so you guys know, all of our access points, our wireless access points, support up to 15 unique SSIDs, and some of the technology or the login features that Ray's talking about, things like sort of splash pages where you can log in with Facebook credentials, or if you wanted to integrate with Active Directory or Radius or LDAP, things like that. All of that is supported with our access points. It's very easy, and when we get to the demo, I'll actually show you where you can set that up.
Yeah,
it's cool that you're using the Facebook, though.
Yeah, and I mean, as you were talking about the Radius, we're looking into that as well. Because right now on the iPad we've got passwords for Wi-Fi and for controlling them. Mm-hmm. And in the Meraki cloud, it has tools where we can actually control what the iPads do. But we want to implement the Radius technology to control, based on MAC address, who can actually connect in. So we can remove the passwords from the iPads to connect to Wi-Fi and stuff like that by controlling it through the Radius system.
Great. And we had a couple questions coming in still from the audience. Are you configuring your devices with static IP assignments, or are you relying on DHCP?
We have to have a certain IP range. The reason is the Epson printers we use, the receipt printers, mm-hmm. are set to a standard IP range, and the problem is that if for some reason the printers crashed and went back to default, if we didn't use the same subnet, then we would be totally messed up trying to get them corrected again because we couldn't access it.
I see. Okay. There's another question which I will field, which is, are the MX security appliances FIPS compliant? The answer is no, unfortunately not at this time. And then someone wanted to know what kind of authentication is being used on the Teamwork wireless network.
On the Rocky Mountain?
Yes, I think so. So it sounded like you're not using Radius.
No. We're just using your WPA2 type.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then another question.
That's because we have to, based on the Radius option, we have to configure a Radius server somewhere.
I see.
So that's what we have to get set up.
Okay.
And then are you get set up? No, we do.
There's a question about a couple questions. It looks like on PCI compliance and how is Meraki helping you with that at all? Are you using? I don't know if folks on the call know, but we have a built-in tool with our APs that lets you run sort of a customized PCI compliance report to see whether or not you are in compliance and where you might need help, and sort of gives you directive on how you can help yourself if you're not compliant. So there was a question if you are using that or...
Well, one of the reasons we chose the Meraki device, one of the key things is because of the PCI compliance. I mean, we have to have that, right? And so every single device from the software backwards has to have that. So that's one of the main reasons we chose that.
Okay. And then there was another question, which I can field, which is there an easy management solution to clone settings from one existing branch to another? And the answer is yes. Very easy. I know you had explained that a little bit earlier. So that is very easy to do. We have a config sync option, and depending on your gear, you can clone certain settings. Sometimes, like with the switches, you can even clone switches and have those settings apply at different locations. So very cool.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on. I want to keep pushing forward so we can get to the demo. I like your quotes. Thank you. Is there anything that you feel folks should know? I mean, if you've got someone who's evaluating a bunch of different vendors and a bunch of different equipment, they're obviously back where you were some time ago, evaluating different options. What if you had to say, here's why you should go with Meraki in 3 bullet points? What would you say?
Well, again, in my world, being the only guy that kind of has to support these, all of our stores, I have the iPad or the iPhone app that pops up a notification if a network is down. I have emails that come out if a network goes down longer than 10 minutes and or comes back on. I think the key thing is being proactive versus reactive. So I know ahead of time, before probably even most of them know that their internet is down. And that's kind of the key thing. I think one of the other key things is we have 3 ways to access into the Lenovo box if we need to do something on it. And one of the ways, which I've been using a lot of, is inside the Meraki Cloud is the ability to remote into a PC. So you can actually log right into your PC from there. And I think that is fantastic. Just in case some of the other tools we use are not working, we can get in there. I think one of the other great things is I do a lot of analysis on the devices. How are they working? Or if somebody's having an issue, I can check the ping to see if there's any lost, any lost rate. I can check all that stuff. I think the other thing is the support team. I've used them a couple of times more from a knowledge standpoint, trying to understand how things work and how I can better make the system better for myself and for our organization. And they're very responsive, and it's a fantastic group of guys or team that can solve or look into solutions very quickly.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you highlight that, because our support team is pretty awesome. I think they get routinely over 90, whatever the SAT scores are, it's like over 90, it's great.
Yeah, and the good thing is you don't have to phone them, because in the cloud you can actually enter in your own issue, and you don't even have to call them. You can just put it in there, and then you can wait for the response. So it's great. I think, as you have highlighted up here, one of the great things is the MDM as well, which I'm sure you're going to go over a little bit here.
Yeah, no, definitely want to, and I guess that ties into a great segue for this Can you tell us a little bit about where you're going now? So you've got your Meraki set up at your locations. What's next?
Yeah, well, the next things as you've got highlighted here, one of the great things is that we're looking into is the CMX. So that gives us the ability to have a snapshot of devices either coming near the store, in the store, or have they been back, so like a loyalty kind of a structure. Mm-hmm. Well, we can then start utilizing that information to see how the activity in that store is. So if we can see a high walk-by rate, we might want to change and put some product closer to the door that's going to draw them in. Mm-hmm. So these are some things that we're working on right now. It's just trying to understand the data and how we can utilize the data based on our point-of-sale data as well, so we can see kind of what's happening. The MDM is another great tool. Because we have iPad solutions and the Teamwork Retail, what they do is they publish the new apps up in MDM, and then we can push them down to any device we want when we want. So if we want to test it, we just push it down to our head office iPad, and we can test it, and then we can roll it back in a second if we need to. Which is, like, I really like that. That is making our life a lot easier for sure. Because the old way was you had to dial into each point of sale. So there's 120 plus. You had to dial into each, update the software manually, and then which took, it would take over a week to update everyone. And if there's a problem, you're right back to square one. So if the solution didn't work all the way.
Right. Yeah. No. Thank you for putting in that plug, because it is completely 100% free. So if anyone wants to get started with mobile device management, it's called Systems Manager. iOS, Androids, Macs, and PCs. You can literally just go to our website and look for the little sort of sign-up page. It's pretty awesome. And you don't need to be running Meraki equipment on your network to have that work. So you can manage anything as long as it's iOS, Android, Mac, or PC. Okay, so what I really want to do, actually, thank you so much, Ray, for chatting, and I think we're going to have a bunch more questions, and what I'd love to do now is actually go through, do a demo of your network, and then if you have anything you want to add or point me in a direction to show something interesting, feel free. We do have a bunch of questions that came in about specific Meraki features, and I'm hoping the demo might help answer some of those questions. So have no fear, folks on the line. Let me actually resume my session because I got logged out. So what I'm doing now is what any of you would be doing, which is you go to a device that can access the internet. You open up a web browser. You go to dashboard.meraki.com, and you log in with your username and credentials. And I think this is this your network?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, as you can see, New West is down.
Yes. The U.S. is down. Canada looks good. Yep. Okay. So let me just go through, guys, and give you a brief overview of what we're looking at. So this is the dashboard. This is where you log in, right? You see all your networks everywhere in the world. You have gear deployed, and, of course, we are looking at Ray's live production network, and you can see where in the world he's got devices deployed. You can also see status really quickly right away, so what's green, what has some devices that are down, getting a sense for uptime for the given week, and you can see the red slivers and sort of red, maybe a reboot or some downtime here. But what's great about this is right away you could sort by usage, see which stores are your most heavily used stores, perhaps in terms of usage, or tag them if you'd like. And search for them some other way. Do you have a store in particular you would like me to visit, or can I just dive in?
You can pick. I mean, Robson is our big flagship store, right?
Robinson's or Robson? There we go.
Robson. Yeah, that's our big flagship. Yeah.
Great. So let's dive into this one. And here we go. So we can see where the store is located right here. So what I did was I actually clicked in from that page. I clicked directly into sort of the wireless part of his network, because remember he's got the security appliance and he's got the wireless, and we're still sort of in an overview mode, but it's very easy for me to come in, see where in the world this network lives, come in, see usage statistics for the last week, and what I'm going to do is actually pull out here into this clients page, and you can see right away for this particular location, for a given time frame, I can come in and I can see, okay, well, what does my bandwidth consumption look like? You know, how many client devices have connected? It looks like you've got wireless devices right now, and some of them are online, and some of them were recently connected in the last week. Did you want to say anything, or?
No, I just wanted to say is, I mean, even though it identifies that POSB is offline, it seems to be it's an iPad Air thing where it kind of loses the Wi-Fi randomly. It's like, really? Thanks.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
Apple. But I will say that what's really cool about these particular views when you come in here and you look in a particular location or in a particular network is you can do these dynamic searches, and you have you know, mostly Apple equipment here, but you know, you could do things like say, all right, well, do I have any iPhones? Yes, you have one iPhone that connected in the last week. You know, do I have any iPads? Yes, I had 5 in the last week that connected, and getting a sense for how much bandwidth they've consumed and whatnot. And you could search by the description of the device, its IP address, its MAC address, manufacturer, operating system. So really useful in sort of a BYOD environment to come in and see exactly what is connecting to your network. And similarly, we do application fingerprinting as well. So you can come in here and get a sense for where your bandwidth is going. Very simply, just sort by usage. Here's all of the different applications that are being consumed on this Robson wireless network. And you know, you could jump down into any single one of these, or just click into miscellaneous web and get a sense for okay, what does this application mean? Well, we're talking about TCP traffic over port 80, and then again, you get a sense for which devices are consuming the most of this type of application in a given time frame. And this is really useful because from a policy perspective, maybe you want to throttle your traffic or prioritize it in some way. And if you had a problem user, I'm going to pick on this guy. I'll just dive in. If you had a problem user, you know, you could click into any single one of these devices, go in and apply policies, block them, maybe apply a particular group policy if you had one, or even apply policies based on SSID. So very, very granular control of individual client devices, and this is all real-time information. So you're seeing this device is connected, here's its signal strength, you can see which access point it's connected to, and then from a client perspective, here's the breakdown of traffic here. And there are ways to actually get more granular details about the applications. So there is a setting in Dashboard that you could enable that would let you see the specific destinations and websites that are being visited and the individual amounts of time on each per client spent. So you can get very, very granular detail here. And if you needed to do things like ping the client, make sure that it was getting the right IP address, or run a packet capture on it, you could do that directly from the dashboard. So I'm actually just going to click into this access point. There's many different ways to get to all of these menus as we go through. I'm just showing you maybe something intuitive if you were doing some troubleshooting or investigating how you might get from point A to point B. But you know, you can see here this is highlighted. You could have gone and gotten a list of access points at this particular location and clicked in this way as well. But all of our equipment, whether it's an access point, a switch, or a security appliance, is going to have a page that looks like this, where you're going to get some local status information about that device in real time, plus some built-in tools, diagnostic tools and troubleshooting tools that you might use to help you learn more about the device or troubleshoot it in some way. So right now, you know, we can see this access point's got 3 SSIDs, and we can see exactly where it's connected, and see current client usage in real time and uptime of the access point. Looks like it's been up and hasn't rebooted at least in the last 12 hours, et cetera, and a whole bunch of other tools here. So just basic stuff.
So one of the great things to highlight there is the update available.
This is new.
So what that is obviously there's been a release of some firmware, and you can push that down. You can push it down right this second, or you can set it to any day or time that you want it to run. So the great thing is the way that the appliance is designed, it actually keeps a copy of the old firmware and the new firmware. So really you're down for like less than a minute if it does.
Yeah, about 30 seconds max.
Yeah. So, and I've done that. It's fantastic.
That's awesome. Yes, thank you. We actually had some questions apparently on the updates. So to your point, totally configurable. You can opt out of them too if you don't want to have the updates applied. But for different product lines, you can even say, you know, I want my security appliance to update at one time and one date, and then update my switches the next day and my access points the day after. So it's good. So what we've seen the visibility that you can get in locations for you know, given network. You can see the clients, you can see their bandwidth consumption, you can see their applications being consumed, you can drill down into clients and actually see individual variations of this particular type of information, and how would you go in and actually control them? How would you actually go in and create some kind of method to shape and throttle traffic? You could create either SSID-wide or, in the case of the MX, site-wide policies, or you can create group-wide policies that apply to specific users or devices or groups of users or groups of devices. And so I'm going to just pretend, I'm not actually going to save this, but I'm going to pretend like I'm making a new group policy. And you know, you come in, you name the policy. If you'd like, you can even schedule when you'd like the policy to be in play. So maybe just weekdays or 8 to 5 on weekdays. You could apply it that way, or you could just have this available all the time. And this is where you'd come in and you'd say, you know what, actually what I'm going to do is anyone who gets this group policy, maybe they're always going to have a particular custom bandwidth limit. Maybe what I want to do is have some custom shaping rules, so I could go in and add my layer 3 rules if I wanted to based on port and IP. But because I have this visibility into all the applications that are passing traffic through my Meraki equipment, I can come in and I can say, you know what, actually I'm just going to block peer-to-peer. All peer-to-peer. Or maybe what I'm going to do is block BitTorrent, because that's what's causing me some grief. But if I didn't want to outright block an application, I wanted to prioritize or throttle it in some way, I could come in here and I could say, you know what, well maybe Netflix and Hulu and Google Video are causing me some grief. What I'm going to do is say I'm going to choose a limit. So everyone who gets this policy is going to be throttled down to, let's be very stingy, 250 kilobits per second. So at this point, anyone who gets this group policy, whether it's a user, group of users, device, group of devices, they're going to be blocked from BitTorrent entirely. Their Netflix, Hulu, and Google Video will be throttled immediately. This is as soon as the packets are hitting the Meraki equipment. It's not just when your network bandwidth is saturated. And if I wanted to prioritize these instead, it's very simple. I just say unlimited and unlimited, and that's all you have to do. And then you can go out and apply these policies to individual devices or groups, like I said. In terms of setting up wireless networks and SSIDs, let's actually show you how to do that, because it's very simple. Like I said, all of our access points support up to 15 unique SSIDs, and they'll all be listed here. You can see them all. Some of them are not being used, but it's as simple as literally going in and enabling an SSID, naming it something, and then going in and editing its settings, which you could click on this link here, or because we're talking about access control settings, you could come down into this access control page this way. And what you would do is you'd simply select an SSID. So you've got 3 here that are being used and 1 that's disabled. If for example, we wanted to set up a guest network super quickly, I'll just pretend like this one was the guest. Maybe you could say we're going to have an open network, and maybe you want to do a click-through splash page, and this is how you would set up that integration with Facebook Wi-Fi, for example. You had an organizational Facebook page, and this would essentially let people connect to your wireless network, but they'll be prompted for their Facebook credentials, so you get the benefit of all that anonymized aggregate data, demographic data that Facebook collects. You can see who is signing on at particular locations that way, and we have the CMX location analytics as well that's built into wireless that could help you. But many, many different ways of authenticating, and literally the only other click that you would need to do is set your SSID in NAT mode. If you wanted a secure, isolated guest SSID in 3 clicks, because what this will do is it'll cause the AP to issue out isolated Class A IP addresses, so the clients can't speak to each other when they're all connected to this wireless SSID, and they can't speak to your LAN unless you create firewall rules to permit this. So that is a super quick, dirty, easy way to take an SSID and make it into a secure, isolated guest network. You could even just have a normal splash page or no splash page at all if you want. You can see we have a bunch of different association requirements. You could do pre-shared keys. You could integrate with Radius if you'd like, or use our authentication. Don't really recommend doing this unless it's a very small site, kind of out without any ways of authenticating otherwise. But it's there if you need it. We can even do billing and paid access. So it's barking at me now because I have this, but we could say this. You could do billing if you wanted to, and set up different ways of providing free access with limits, or perhaps adding pricing plans of your choosing. And there's various options there. And you could, if you needed to, partner with third-party billing providers if you didn't want to work with us. And you can even, if you're using our mobile device management, prevent people from joining an SSID until they have enrolled in Systems Manager. So if you really want to lock down that mobile device access, you can do that here. We have a bunch of other really cool tools built in, and I'm not going to spend too much time here, but just so you know, if you want to make sure that an SSID is secure and locked down as much as it can be, you can actually check to see that antivirus is installed with recent updates on Windows devices. This is what this network access control means. Because again, we're cloud-based, right? So not only have we algorithmically classified and tagged hundreds of websites and applications that we're updating to kind of show you where your bandwidth is going, we can also keep tabs on things like antivirus. So we're monitoring about 15 different antivirus vendors. The actual list is in our documentation on our website, but the usual suspects: McAfee, Symantec, Sophos, Avast, Panda, et cetera, et cetera. We can detect if a device has those, and if they don't, we can say, you know what, you're not going to be able to join this SSID because we don't know if you're infected or not. And if you don't have it, we're going to send you perhaps to a custom URL. This could be Symantec.com, or it could be, if you're in a captive walled garden, could be some sort of file server that has some licenses for Symantec or something, and you could send people that way. And then one other really cool thing I want to highlight is that with our wireless, especially in a mobile device management, especially in a BYOD scenario, this tool here is awesome, because what you can do is, once you've created all your group policies, remember when we throttled video traffic and blocked peer-to-peer, if you've created group policies like that, you can go ahead and automatically assign them by device type. So maybe I want to block BlackBerries because this is a school and we're not expecting to have BlackBerries here, and if Macs, I want them to get a particular policy or not. They'd all be listed here if we had defined group policies, and you can just automatically apply a policy to a device type. You don't even have to worry about who's bringing what onto your network to know that they are getting that policy. So very, very powerful. There is a lot we could talk about. I think the last thing I'm going to highlight, if I can, are you using CMX analytics at all, Ray, on any of this?
I mean, it's enabled for sure, right?
Right.
We're just still trying to figure out how we can collect the data in a way to share it with the stores.
Got it.
Right.
Got it. Yeah. So let me just back up for folks who may not be familiar with this. This is a tool. Again, there's no per feature, per user licensing here. This is just something, it actually showed up as a feature update. So again, for folks who own our gear, this is the kind of update you'll get when we do our quarterly updates. What this is it's our location analytics. It's built right into every wireless access point that we sell, and it's here, it's on, it's automatic by default, and what it does is it captures useful information, particularly useful in a retail setting, about things like visitors to the proximity, proximal visitors in your stores perhaps, or people that just walked by. Essentially what we're doing is we're looking at MAC addresses. We've anonymized them so we can't reverse hash them or anything, and there's a whole white paper on this on our website about how we do it, and folks can opt out of this entirely if they don't want their devices to be viewable to us. But point being is that we can actually tell based on signal strength of the device and based on things like, did it connect to the network, did it not connect to the network, how long was it in a particular vicinity based on signal strength. kind of estimate or guess who was a visitor, in the sense that they were someone who came near your access point and stayed for a while, and who was just a passerby, maybe someone who just walked by your store front window. And so we can track this information for you over a given period of time, and you can even see, you know, of these people who connected directly to one of your wireless networks. And so it basically is giving you some information about proximity and sort of capture rate. And then if you want, we have information about how long they were in the vicinity of your access point. So did they come and just browse for 5 to 20 minutes? Were they there all day? You know, probably people who are there for 6+ hours are people who work at these locations because they're there all day. But just to give you a sense for over time, are people coming? Are they engaged in your location? And then are they return visitors, repeat visitors? Do they come in occasionally, daily, weekly, et cetera, et cetera? And so we capture all of this information. Again, you can kind of slice and dice it based on customized date ranges or for a given amount of time and see trends over time. You know, I've actually on my own access point saw a huge spike one day, and I have it near a window outside of a busy street in San Francisco, and it turns out there was a parade that day when I actually did some additional digging, because I was like, man, what is going on? I was away. I didn't know there had been a parade. So it's just, you know, useful. We have an API, so you can take the raw JSON data of this and dump it into third-party tools if you'd like to slice and dice it in different ways, but just super, super useful. All right, so I'm getting notices here that I'm getting short on time. So let me flip back to the presentation. We're just going to run through these slides super quickly, and then I'll try to answer as many additional questions as I can. Just to sum up, of course, we've been talking a lot about our access points. We have indoor models, we have outdoor models. I would encourage everyone to check out our website, meraki.cisco.com. We've got tons of product information, tech specs, data sheets, white papers, et cetera, all up there. But check it out. We also make security appliances, same deal, lots of different models. So small branch offices all the way up through main campus type hardware is available to you if you're interested. And lots of very cool features. Like I hinted, it's a unified threat management box. So everything from intrusion prevention, content filtering, malware and anti-phishing filtering, the firewalling, the ability to set group policies, et cetera, VPN, site-to-site, and client, all supported. Definitely check those out. And then we have awesome switches. So layer 2 and layer 3 switches, access and aggregation switches, and a bunch of information is up there again on our website. And of course, some benefits that we've been talking about that apply to all of our product lines are seen here, and we talked about the ability to kind of do the zero-touch deployment, manage from anywhere in the world. You have internet, you have seamless updates, your hardware is future-proofed, et cetera. So if any of this looks interesting to you, I do encourage you to try us for free and test drive us. Like Ray did, go and ask for any piece of Meraki hardware. All of it is available for free eval. We'll pay the shipping both ways, so there's no risk to you, and you can either call us or go to meraki.cisco.com/eval to get started. So that wraps up the presentative portion of this. I think we've got 5 minutes, maybe a little bit less, because I know there's going to be a webinar right after this. So let's go through and let me see what sorts of questions I can answer. Let's see. Well, there's a lot of questions. So we have a question about, okay, do we do summary reporting? That is a great question, and I can totally just show you that very quickly. The answer is yes. So we didn't really cover that very much, but if you wanted to do, or sort of, I guess I should say, get summary reports of what's happening in your network, super easy to do. You can come here, say, I'd like to see a summary report, and you can email this to yourself or schedule emails to be delivered, and you can slice and dice this data just about any way you want. If you've tagged your equipment, you would get a list of the tag options here that you could view. So really, there's really no limit to the granularity, but if you wanted to get summary statistics about usage and clients and who's connecting, you can definitely do that. And it'll look slightly different depending on the product that we're talking about. So, with switches, for example, you'll see port utilization, and you don't see that here, but you get the picture. So that is a great question. Let's see. Would it be possible to see? So someone was asking about whether we have a remote desktop feature, and the answer is we do, but we have it with our mobile device management, and I don't think you're using that quite yet, right, Ray? I think you were.
What are they trying to do?
They wanted to know if we had remote desktop, and we do with our systems manager.
Yeah, well, it does have remote desktop. It's a beta in here. So if you go to the MX60,
okay.
so I'll drop it down, and the MX60 is just below. On Robson, or there, Whistler. So then let's just pick a, there. So let's go to, if you go to the Lenovo there. Yeah.
Oh, you do have Systems Manager installed. You do. Okay.
Yeah,
for some reason, I'm sorry, I thought you didn't. But that's actually great.
See, this is one of the great things that we utilize, right?
So right down here.
Yeah, in case one of our systems is down, we can't remote in, because we use TeamViewer and LogMeIn are the two, but this allows us a third.
Yep. No, this is great. Pardon me, I don't know, I had a total brain meltdown just now. I didn't realize you were using Systems Manager. This is great because Systems Manager, again, it's free, it's awesome, and you can see the more granular level of detail that we're getting here about these particular devices, literally down to when they've been online, and a whole slew of other options here in terms of commands. And this is a desktop, so you can see this. But you can, with MDM, go in, push out applications, group your devices in various ways, and then apply security settings and feature restrictions to them based on those profiles, right? Like things like locking down parts of the mobile device or setting passcode complexity requirements, et cetera, et cetera. So just a ton of things that you can do there. So that is a great question. I probably have room for one more, and let's see. And okay, yeah, we're getting this. We get this question every time, and it's a great question, so I should highlight it once more, which is what happens if you lose connectivity to the cloud? It's a great question, and what happens is your network will continue to operate with its last known configuration. So in the event that you lose, wireless or internet, I guess I should say, it's not like your whole network is going to come crashing down. What will happen is your SSIDs will continue to broadcast. If you are authenticating to a local authentication server, that will still be in place. You'd still be able to access file and print. Your VLANs are still going to be up and running, et cetera, but you're not going to be able to log in, obviously, to the dashboard and tweak configuration settings. But that said, there's two things. One, if you have accidentally blown yourself up out of the water, and that is why you cannot access the internet, is because you've misconfigured something. We do have a safety valve. If you are directly connected to or directly downstream of Meraki equipment, you can go to a special URL in dashboard, and there's a different one for each product line, but from that URL, you can, in fact, let me just show you, because I am connected to Meraki equipment. So let's just say if I want to go here, this is going to be, now we're switching on to the Meraki Corp network here, but mymeraki.com, I am looking through where I'm directly connected, and I can see I am, device status, connectivity status here. I can run speed tests, and there's this uplink configuration piece here that would let me set IP addresses, VLANs, DHCP, things like that, enough to get yourself back up and running if need be. So that's a great question. All right, we are at the top of the hour, so I am going to have to wrap this up. Ray, thank you so much. Really appreciate you taking time to chat with us and graciously letting us look at your network. I know there were a bunch of questions, guys. If we didn't answer them, have no fear. We've captured them. When you reach out to your Meraki rep to give them the address for them to ship your free access point, they should have those questions that are associated with you, and they hopefully will get you an answer. So thank you so much. Hope this was useful, and have a great day.
Great.